Alright everybody, today is Sunday the 7th of July 2024. It is about 8 o'clock in the morning. We've been out here for the last couple of hours trying to get our bearings on this thing and figure a plan of attack, and we managed in the last few days, I think, is getting the loop antenna off of it and the dial panel and needle and pulleys and blah and blah and blah. One thing that struck me really odd is the dial graphic is riveted on. They didn't use them push-on through-hole whatever things like Silvertone uses. They actually used it as a rivet. And you see that pulley there for the dial needle? It is fixed. It is riveted onto the panel, and then the dial pointer and shaft is put into the thing after the dial graphic is put on over the rivets, and then it is all sandwiched together, and then they press the pulley on. I'm really wondering about that because you get a marred up dial from somebody who's not familiar with this radio or how to deal with it, and then they ruin the dial. There ain't no way of getting back to zero. So I'm gonna have to think about that, because it doesn't look like there is any way of getting that off, because that pulley, the manufacturers made that out of pot metal. You go prying on that thing and you're going to have a bunch of pieces in your hand. So and if you drill the rivets out, you ain't going to get it out of there anyway, because that thing is, and I'm certainly scared to death of prying this thing off to see whether or not it will come off of there without breaking that needle. Because why would they do something like that? I don't know, but maybe I can give it a little bit of a stress test and see whether or not it's going to come loose. But you can't put any lube on that thing because it'll wick all over this doggone. I mean, that is poor, real poor. Jeez, I can't understand why some of the geniuses that some people hire, man. They just, yeah. Reminds me of when I was a kid, hanging out with all the old guys on the job site. My dad would take me to work with him on days that we never had no school, because I'd want to go along with him, because I like dinking around the construction site, you know, finding this and finding that, and it was just an adventure for me. So he would take me along, and I would mosey into some houses and where the plumbers and sheetrockers and everybody else was working, and I'd sit back and I'd watch them a little bit, and pretty soon the one would kind of come over and say a couple of things to me, and I'd respond, and I'd say, let me ask you a question. Why do you guys do all that stuff that you're doing? And most of the responses would be, because that's the way we've always done it. Well, I don't know. You need to think out of the box, or just jump in the box and close it up. So anyway, we got this all checked out and everything, and we went through all the circuits in here and got them documented. The only thing I still need to do is get this thing verified of how it's configured. I did get me a schematic for the 312. I think he's the master mentioned it in his comment. Yeah, D312, and it has the I-tube. Is that the I-tube? Yeah, that's the 6U5. There is 1, 2, 3. There should be 5 wires coming out of that thing. I only see 3, maybe there might be 4, but I'm not sure. There is 5 wires coming out of this. So we're going to document this and see how it's configured in here on this chassis, and then we'll make the comparison to the two. Now, what I'm going to attempt to do right now, hopefully that fan is not annoying you. Boy, when I first fire it up in the morning, man, that thing screeches like a banshee. Man, for about 5 minutes, 6, 7 minutes. And then she kind of, I guess the plastic on it, well, it kind of warms up and starts to get to the point that you hear now. So what I'm going to do is start removing the tuner. I'm going to have to remove one of these IF cans. I can't remember which one it is, but it's the one that I said something about the red and blue wires being a little crusty looking. I'm going to have to pull it and get it off of there and do whatever. That is a snake pit. I mean to tell you, it's yeah, it's not going to be one of the more pleasant ones to deal with. This thing here looks like it's suffered a little bit of pressure here and there, and that this gearing mechanism over here has been under some loads or something, because she doesn't mesh now very good. It does at the high end, right to there. There, from there to there is smooth. You can't even tell there's any gearing there, but when you get it to here, boy, you can feel those gears start to receive a little bit more pressure on it, and you can feel every time it moves one cog, you can feel it. So I gotta deal with something, and this is the same kind of gearing that Silvertone uses. So all of that gearing and stuff for the push button section is pot metal. So I mean, you can't stress it. And if you look at it or drop a paper clip on it, it's going to break. So let me get to this. I'm going to start desoldering the wires and the cables off of this thing, the ground wires. And then we're going to flip it over and see about pulling the bolts and the nuts off of the thing. So hang in there. Alright, there we are. We got the thing taken off. It'll come off in a couple of pieces. This here on the top, there is a flat pan that is mounted up on these isolators here, with those ferrules and through bolts. And then on the ends here, there are these gizzy things, like in like a couple of the other recent Silvertones that I've done. Almost the same thing, except the additional parts here for the different way the push buttons operate. It's almost the same as a Silvertone, but remove these two nuts and star washers, and this will come off. Of course, you'll have to disconnect the wiring to the banana slicer and the ground braid, and then this here will come off, and then you can take the other nuts off the bottom and pull the through bolts out and extract the blank off pan. The pan is the thing that has the tuning shaft mount on it. So you'll have to remove the tuning shaft out of the pan, or else you can't get it out. And it's got a C on the front here. It's got a C clip in the front and a C clip in the back of the flange, and the back one is probably a little easier to get off than the one in between these two walls here. Yeah, I thought I was going to have a problem with it, but it came right out. You could snap that C-ring out of there. Technical note: remove the coil from here, because if you go to dance with it, when you flip it around, you're going to bend this thing and it's going to break the base. So remember to take this off before you start to jiggling it around up and down and back and forth. Yeah, whatever works and whatever's the cheapest. So now I believe it's this IF can that's got to come off, and I got to redo the wiring in it. And I'm not too thrilled about that. That is, well, that one's okay, so that one's not the one. This is the one right here, where everything else is. It's got a there's one nut, and it's got a buildup of solder around it, and then another one's right underneath this RF coil, and there it is. You can see it right under there. And this terminal strip is held on by that nut right there. It's one of those 5, is it 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 lug with ground, including the ground, and it's held on by that screw that holds on that IF can. And that's the one I got to get to. And you know, they don't really pay any attention to, you know, what ifs down the road. They just got to get them done. So I mean, they go in there and everything, and they'll, if you've got to work on them, some of them you're gonna have a real issue with. But it's got to be done. I mean, I hear guys whining about it, and doing this and doing that, and then they're thinking about it and everything, but never do it. I don't know who they're trying to fool, but they ain't fooling me, because I do it. So, and then I got to do something with this on-off switch. I think I think the volume control is okay. The tone switch, no problem. I don't believe those can be cleaned up really easy. This one here, I'm going to have to clip everything off of this lugs, like I did the last one, and yank that switch out of there and get it in the goop, because it is dirty, nasty dirty. I mean, it's got, you might consider only putting like maybe gun oil on these if you get them real good and clean and everything. I know a lot of the other people on YouTube will use just deoxit spray and flip the knobs back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I've done that too on occasion. When I can't, when the thing is just so difficult, you just no way you're gonna be able to get through it without taking half the chassis guts out in order to get it out. But put a little gun oil or something like that, a fine oil on it. Don't put any grease, no grease. That looks like it's been dried grease or something like that. So if you're going to lube them up, you can lube the ball bearing with a little bit of lithium grease or lithium compound, but for the contacts and everything, use a light machine oil or some gun oil on it, and that should be good enough to keep the crap from building up, because that grease stuff will attract dust, and let me tell you, it'll cake up over time. What else was there? Yeah, this gizmo right here is the one that's chunking it down through there. It might alleviate itself a little bit when I go to drop it in the dip. You know, I got a feeling that one of these sides was bent a little bit, because you can see that there's a little offage right there. And it might have suffered a little concussion, and there's a slight misalignment in it now. We'll get it cleaned up and see what's up with that. And then what are we going to do? I'm still thinking with the cabinet, getting it touched up every place that I can before doing a rough sand on it. So stay tuned, we'll have more. Alright, one last thing before we get the flock out of here, Moses. The push buttons, it's got a little rod that goes through there, through these holes right there. It's got some ears on this side that is a stop for that, and then it's got one little chinker right there on the end that's a little bump. You file it down a little ways and you'll be able to pull it back out, and then slip all your chingaderos off of there. There's going to be a spacer on the end. That's the one that takes up this little bitty room right here for this knot, for this button. So everything here is going to go into the dip, and we're going to go in and see what's happening with the Goofy Golf today. So thanks for watching. Hope I at least gave you a little enjoyment today rather than blab. very little enjoyment, but more blab. We'll come out later. It's supposed to be about 107 today. We'll come out later and do a little whoop-de-doo with some of this other stuff. Maybe attempt the extraction of that IF can and get it out of there. And then we're going to be pretty much in the mood for taking a bath. for it to take a bath. So we'll see you later. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for the comments.